Hello and welcome to another edition of What I Wish I Knew Before I Taught, a particular great book. The great book we're dealing with today is The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. And I don't really think I have to sell you on why this is a great book. By most accounts, this is the most widely read Christian devotional of all time. Some people say, besides the Bible, it's the best-selling religious work of all time. So obviously, profound influence, not only in its day. It was completed in 1427, but also throughout history. And the second reason, if you need a second reason for why you should teach The Imitation of Christ, it's actually a really dangerous book, and we're going to talk about the dangers involved in this book as we get ready to teach The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. So, without further ado, what I wish I knew before I came to teach this particular great book. Really, what I wish I knew was that Thomas à Kempis is very subtly laying the framework to undermine what I consider to be one of the most important concepts in Christianity, the idea of worldview. Thomas à Kempis is very careful to argue that there is a spiritual realm and a physical realm, and the spiritual realm is good, and you should participate in it as much as you can. And the physical realm is just a distraction that's going to cause you trouble, just like other people are distractions and they're going to cause you trouble. I know this sounds harsh to say this about a book that is literally called The Imitation of Christ. So I'm going to read a couple passages and you can see for yourself. In the first one, Thomas says, "Therefore, whoever is resolved to live an inward and spiritual life must, with Jesus, withdraw from the crowd." So there's a very clear monastic teaching. Thomas à Kempis is a monk and does in fact believe that it's right to withdraw from the world. A more shocking quote, though, is this second quote. He says this: "Had you no need of food, drink, or rest, you could praise God without ceasing and give yourself wholly to spiritual things. You would be far happier than now when you are compelled to serve the needs of the body. Would that these needs did not exist so that we might enjoy the spiritual feasts of the soul, which, alas, we taste so seldom." So if you're paying attention there and reading between the lines, Thomas à Kempis is basically questioning the order of things created by a good God. He doesn't know why God made us to eat or to drink or to rest. And he wishes that we didn't have to dabble in these ridiculous physical things so that we could spend all our time in spiritual disciplines, fasting and praying and sharing the gospel. And I understand that sounds very spiritual. When you read The Imitation of Christ, you will be persuaded by the zeal of Thomas à Kempis and the tone of the language, which shows a real heart for leading a spiritual life. And I'm just here to remind you again that we are embodied creatures, that God made us incarnate, that he intended the physical world to exist, and when he made it, he declared it very good. I ask my students all the time, whose idea was sleeping? It was God's. Whose idea was eating? It was God's. He could have made us in such a way that we just get our nutrients through osmosis, through the atmosphere or whatever. He didn't. He gave us the good gift of cheeseburgers and donuts and all other fantastic foods as well. And we don't have to apologize for having physical bodies and taking delight in the physical world. God intended that for us. I am always referencing Genesis 2:9, where we're told that one of the reasons God made trees is because they are pleasing to the eye, which means that one of the reasons God made humans is to delight in the beauty of trees. And that concept is foreign to Thomas A. Kempis. He does not understand why you would bother looking out the window and paying attention to a tree when you could be fasting or praying. And again, that sounds very holy, but it is an incomplete view of man. For another thing, it forgets that in heaven, we will have exalted physical bodies. We're not going to be just these disembodied spirits who drift around. So the Gnosticism of Thomas A. Kempis doesn't permeate every aspect of the work in a very obvious way, but the assumption is there throughout. The assumption is that if you are going to serve God well, you need to withdraw from the world. That means other people. You need to be as ascetic as you possibly can, not enjoy eating, not enjoy drinking, not enjoy sleeping. And those are the things that will cause you to have a really spiritual life. To me, this is a very shocking statement. See what you think of it. In another place, he says, "The greatest saints used to avoid the company of men whenever they were able, and chose rather to serve God in solitude." So he's arguing very strongly for the spiritual life being withdrawn from men, being apart. I would submit to you it's a very selfish perspective on working out your salvation, right? Don't let anyone else get in your way. You just withdraw and be as spiritual as you possibly can. And that's to forget Christ's injunction to go out and make disciples in all the world, right? It's forgetting his injunction to take every thought captive for him. We're told in Romans 12:2 that we can be transformed by the renewing of our minds. The whole idea of worldview rests on the idea that there are not sacred and secular realms, but that everything is under God's authority. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Psalm 27:1. And when we begin to talk and think like Thomas A. Kempis, we are saying the spiritual is under God's authority. The physical is gross and belongs to Satan, and the more time away from it you can spend, the better. And that is an unbiblical position. Yes, I know the book is called The Imitation of Christ. Yes, I know it's the best-selling Christian devotional of all time, and I'm telling you it did real damage to the church by giving all of us this mindset that you're being a Christian when you're being spiritual, and your faith doesn't have anything to do with the secular realm. Hear me loud and clear. Your faith is relevant to politics, art, education. God speaks into all of those realms. And to think otherwise is to fall into, first, the false sacred secular dichotomy, and second, into Gnosticism. If you would like a full plan for teaching the Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis, you can go ahead and pick up my book, The Great Books, Volume 2, which deals with medieval times and is available at worldviewpublishing.com. The idea of the Great Books is that we actually, as Christians, have questions with target answers for our students to help them think well about what they are reading.